Hey folks, Steve Sweeney here with Headwaters for Heroes for another one of our podcast series. We're here at the station on 290 in Harper, Texas. We've got our big event going on, our big fundraiser, the 10th annual Headwaters for Heroes Combat Veteran and Gold Star Family Benefit. So we're taking some time to visit with some of our friends and supporters, and we've even got one of the OCC choppers back behind us. I believe that's Paul Sr.'s chopper back there, if I'm not mistaken. We're so glad to have them here for this event. Paul's not here. I want to make that clear, everybody, but Nick is. And we're going to be talking to him in another session. But I wanted to bring in a good friend of ours, Mr. Calen Ahrens. Calen has been a true supporter of this organization for a very long time. But I want to talk about what Calen does. You know, we've grown in our organization through the times and talents of the people involved, and that includes who we know. So right now I want to introduce Mr. Calen Ahrens. How are you, sir?
Good, Steve. Thanks for having me, man.
Tell us a little bit about you're Ahrens Ranch and Wildlife, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So a little bit about us, Mile High overview. Running several commercial hunting operations, over 600,000 acres here in Texas, and then about 60,000 acres in South Africa. And then we capture, sell exotics, as well as manage and consult ranches all over Texas. That's Mile High, real brief overview.
So you do everything from beef cattle to exotics.
You name it, we do it. And taking little kids out hunting, and first-time women hunters, and catching kudu from a helicopter, anything and everything.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And you got a newborn.
I do. Yeah, I got a 3-month at home, 3-month-old at home now.
That is awesome. I mean, I know the miles you put on. You and I talk on a regular basis, and you're never home.
No, sir.
You are busy, but you got a good crew behind you right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Looking to add on to the crew as well.
I noticed that.
Yes, sir.
Got room for an old fat man?
I always got room for a good cook.
That's about all I'm going to be able to do for you. Now, Calen, you got involved with our organization a good number of years ago through our auction, helping us out. And then when we started, you know, there was a couple of the hunts that were donated to us that you had in the auction, and we started taking Gold Star kids out with you. What does it mean to you to be able to give back to the Gold Star community like this?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, Steve. You know, I feel a purpose in being successful in the industry that I'm in to give back into the same industry. And so to be able to help out Gold Star kids or to help out veterans within the hunting and fishing industry is big to me. I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for somebody when I was a kid teaching me how to hunt and fish and have those opportunities. And so to be able to do that for a veterans organization, Headwaters for Heroes, I don't support anybody else but y'all. It means a lot to me. And that first Gold Star kid hunt that we had, Landon and give me the other one. Can't remember his brother's name, but anyway, Aiden. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Landon and Aiden.
Landon and Aiden, and we had them down at my place over here in Harper, and you know, we had a great time. And those kids were ecstatic with their free-range black buck, and you know that to me meant more than any amount of money to see the smile on those kids' faces.
Yeah, one of those black bucks went bronze.
Yeah, nice black buck.
Yeah, Aiden, we had him at the TGR, and that was so cool for the kids to win awards. You know, Landon and Aiden both were there. Landon had that gold medal ram from another ranch, and then we also had Lake and Tingle there with that buffalo. But to have Aiden there and those kids there at TGR, I mean, they felt so important. Now, you actually sit on the board of the TGR.
I do. I sit on the board of a couple of different organizations. TGR is one of them, and Exotic Wildlife Association is another one. So
those organizations, they have been so receptive to what we do.
Yes, sir.
But getting back to the whole TGR, it's so cool when those kids can see their picture with their animal up on the big screen, and their name is called, and they go up there and they get their plaque, and then they go take pictures.
Oh yeah.
It is so rewarding for those kids. And you know, our program, as you well know, it's about mentoring. And people like you do such a great job of helping in that mentoring program. It's not just about going out and shooting an animal.
Right.
It's about teaching them why we do what we do. Because hunting through conservation through hunting is a big thing. And I don't think the public quite understands that concept.
No.
Tell me your definition of how you see that working as conservation.
Yeah, so hunting, you know, you could use a metaphor, if you will. Hunting equals conservation, and how that is that when you have hunters and you have youth hunters and you have adult hunters, when there is a reason for them to hunt, there's a I guess you'll say there's a reason for that animal to be conserved. There's a reason for that animal to propagate. You see it in the South African conservation model that happens there. You know, when you have hunters coming to South Africa to hunt, that creates a need for those animals to thrive and survive. If there was no need for hunters, then everything would be poached and they wouldn't be around. So hunting is conservation. But the main thing I want to touch on too, while I have you here, you know, talking about Gold Star kids, is that if we don't do more to get these kids out hunting, we're not doing what we need to do in the hunting industry to bring the next generation up. Because you and I are getting older, right? And not you, no, not a day older.
No.
But if we don't do more to recruit younger individuals, then hunting itself is going to die out. So we have to be cognizant of that moving forward.
Well, and it's population control.
Yep.
You know, as far as, and I think some of the environmentalists just don't quite get that concept of population. It's just let them be natural.
Yep.
What would happen if we just let them be natural? And
well, Mother Nature doesn't discriminate, to answer your question. And so carrying capacity, for some of those people that don't understand ranch and wildlife management, carrying capacity is what the ranch lands or the wildlife native lands can hold. And so we don't know that unless we look at the property. And someone down in Houston, Texas may not know what that carrying capacity is. But Mother Nature does. And so if we don't keep those population numbers in check and in control, then Mother Nature is going to take what she wants.
yeah, and that's not a good way to take it.
No one benefits from that.
No one benefits. And one of the great things is when these kids go hunting with any of us, we take care of, first and foremost, the meat processing.
Yes.
And it is such joy for those kids and family to be able to know when they sit down at dinner one night, they had a hand in providing for the family.
Right, exactly.
Now, almost all these kids, because we try to vet them as much as possible, they typically don't come to our program if hunting wasn't a part of, say, their father's life. So we have kids that it would have been a natural for their father to teach them all these things, and so it's a natural for those families to come to us. And so with people like yourself and the many other staff we have, we're not replacing the father, but man, the way the kids interact with you, you know they have a friend. They feel safe and they learn. It's incredible. So when these kids are gone at 18, graduating high school, that's when our program ends, they've got knowledge. And so they've got confidence. And, you know, with every year we take them to do something different, whether it's a black buck or a whitetail or an axis or a sheep or hogs or bass fishing, bay fishing, catfish, you know, we mix it up so much. And so having people like yourself that come on board and are willing to share what they have, and you're truly giving, because you're giving away your living.
Yes, sir.
And you know, there's no other way to look at it. You're giving away your living.
Giving away a piece of the pie.
Exactly. That black buck right now, trophy black buck selling for what right now?
Oh, you can sell that hunt for $4,500 all day.
My point.
Right.
But people like you give of that. In this case, most of the time it's been through the auction, but nevertheless, it's always come back to us.
Right.
And you're giving up income. And the way the hunting industry is right now,
it's red hot.
It's red hot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I talked to a lot of different ranches, and we experienced it this year in the auction. We couldn't get the exotics as like we wanted in the sale because of, and a lot of it goes back to the freeze. A lot of it has to do with COVID. You couldn't go to South Africa. And so these ranches really have been busy, which is great for them. And like any business, it's feast or famine.
Right.
And I'm sure you go through that a lot.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, the market dictates what decisions we make.
Absolutely. So how long have you been doing this, Calen?
Ahrens Ranch and Wildlife has been in business for almost 6 years now. Been an LLC, but I've been hunting and fishing and been in the outdoors all my life since I was a kid, feeding my grandfather's cattle over here just off White Oak Road here in Gillespie County. But no, professionally and on my own, been doing it for this will be almost 6 years.
And you went to where to college?
Texas A&M University, Kingsville, and then worked several years, 5 years, at King Ranch. And that's where I got my teeth cut.
It's a good place to cut your teeth.
Not bad, not bad.
King Ranch is how big?
860,000 acres.
Wow. They used to be a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, they used to be 1,200,000, I believe.
That's big.
Yeah.
You know, we get to hunt the Longfellow Ranch now, and that's 370,000, and we're in awe of that. But to go on something that big, and people, now not all hunting ranches are that big. The King Ranch has a blessing of the Neil guy,
Right.
and they're a challenge. Tell us
Yeah, they
about
are.
hunting Neil guy.
Well, if you don't have a 300 Win Mag or larger, don't try going after them. That's the rule number one. Rule number two, they got about an eighth sense about them, so they could just kind of tell that there's something in the brush, and they're not gonna see what you're selling. They're just gonna turn and run. So being very, very sneaky, very stealthy, you're not just gonna roll up on them in a truck. You know, they're gonna haul butt the other way.
Now, how many Neil guy do you think you guys harvest a year?
Not as many as we used to. At one time, we harvested 45 nilgai 1 year, but we replaced that, so our markets have changed, and so we ebb and flow. But our markets have now changed to our free range aoudad, and so we'll probably take 35 free range aoudad a year, 20, 30 axis, probably 100 whitetail, various other species of exotics. We run almost 200 hunts a year in total.
200 hunts a year.
With two people.
With two people. Wow, that's incredible. Now, I was going to bring up the aoudad. That's my bucket list, and you and I have talked about it.
Yes, sir.
I want someday to be able to go with you out there with a free range aoudad for a trophy aoudad. I know I've got to lose this belly. I know I got to get in shape. But man, one of these days you and I are going to go do that.
It is a wonderful experience, and something. If there's a person that's a sheep hunter that's hunted Dall sheep or stone sheep or big, desert bighorn sheep or Rocky Mountain bighorn, they understand what it's like. But if it's somebody that doesn't have that kind of money to afford a $50,000 sheep hunt, aoudad sheep in West Texas is as true blue of a sheep hunt as you're going to get at a fraction of the cost.
So how many miles do you think you have to track to find these?
Well, I've had them come right to the truck off the side of a mountain and been able to get them that way, or we've had to go 6, 7, 8 miles one way to get one. So it just really depends on the sheep gods at the time.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I've also seen in some of your posts and stuff, those audads, you skin them out right there and then pack it out.
That's right. Yep. So once the animal is taken, and we take some really good photos. Typically, it's on stuff that's about in a 45, 50 degree angle, on the side of the mountain, and you're trying to keep that animal from rolling off the mountain. So you make a few incisions and try to pull it off safely, and then put it in the backpack, and then hike off the mountain with your client.
Wow. That's all I can say.
Actually, we've got we donated a trip last year.
Yeah.
And I believe we're going to do that trip in this coming August.
Yeah, I was talking to Chad the other day, and he was telling me that it's all set up. So I'm glad to see that. That sold really well in our auction.
Yeah, it did.
That was a great item in our auction. And you have supported the auction whether you were a bid taker. This year you're not going to be there.
Unfortunately.
You're going to spend time with your family, and I truly respect that. But you've been there helping us run prices up, and you know how to work the crowd. People know you, and you've done such a great job for us to help take something from, say, 2,000 on up to 5,000 just because of your experience and your belief in what we're doing.
Yes.
We still have a lot to do with you, and having people like you on board is what makes us successful. One of these days we'll be back out with you.
Yes, sir.
But you still have a lot of recovery from the freeze we had here.
Yeah, on the free range stuff on our black buck, we've got a lot of recovery to do. But on some of our high fence, larger high fence ranches, I think we've talked about trying to get something set up here pretty quick. May or June, get a Gold Star kid out to do that black buck hunt we've been needing to do. But the freeze really, we lost 90% of our black buck herd on the free range country. We've been building that since 1995.
Yeah, and
So that was
that big freeze we had, the Ice-ageddon, I guess is what we called it, man, that was terrible.
Yeah.
A lot of places.
Snowgeddon.
A lot of places up here didn't have power for over a month. It was incredible. Man, I had something pop in my mind. You really do lean towards the kids, though.
Yes, sir.
And I respect that because we can't do enough for these kids. They, as a family, they sacrificed for our country. And a lot of these kids were very young when their dad died. And to know that they have the comfort of people like you that are willing to help them out and show them the way is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you also do consulting.
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned that a while ago briefly. You know, a lot of these landowners don't know when they buy a place. A lot of these money people, they buy a ranch and they bought a ranch. What do you do for them in that case? What do you do when you go in to assess a ranch?
So that's a great question, Steve. So every ranch is different, every landowner is different. And so upon the first ranch meeting, talk with the landowner, get their goals and aspirations for their piece of property, whether it's 50 acres or 50,000 acres. Talk to them, figure out what they want to get done. What's their 3, 5, 10-year goal? How do we get there? And then, see what all they want. And then from there, I can make recommendations and consultation. Consulting a ranch down in Utopia right now, 3 different pastures. It totals about 6,000 acres. We're going in there managing the whitetail. We're managing the DMP pens. We're managing the exotic numbers. We're doing prescribed burn management, habitat, brush management, fisheries management, and stocking the water, stocking the ponds with bass and keeping the water clean and trying to keep it aerated. And so we're doing different things. And we're even looking at consulting another ranch up in the Texas Panhandle for their mule deer herds, helping put out more protein to get better mass on those deer up there, and water distribution with water tanks, because water's huge, especially right now. Thankfully, we've had rain in certain areas of Texas, but there's still some areas of Texas that doesn't have the luxury we've had with these rainfalls. So wildlife needs water. But no, just to kind of answer your question, it really depends on the ranch, what we recommend and how we do it. But like I said, every ranch and every landowner is different.
That's awesome. And so you've got such a diverse company, and you see outfitters out there, which outfitter is people that take other people out hunting, and they're successful and they're great in what they do. One of the things that I really admire about you and your company is the diversity of it. And your work ethic, obviously. I mean, you're just constantly on the move.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know how many times I've called you and you said, "Well, I'm on a hunt. Can I call you when I get done with this?"
And 3 weeks later, I'll call you back.
But I admire that. And there's not many companies, many people like yourself that are as diverse as you are.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're in a very small percentage of people out there.
Yes, sir.
So if you're not hunting, you're working cattle.
Right. Well, there's always something to be done. When I was a younger kid, my stepfather is very, very wealthy in the oil business. And I remember asking him, "Dad, can I be a part of the family business?" And he said, if you want to become wealthy, he goes, you need to find something that you love and you're passionate about. He goes, but find ways to be diversified. Find ways to make 2 or 3 different sources of income. Fast forward about 20 years, I'm 30 now. Fast forward about 20 years, and he tells me, he goes, "Now, I told you 2 or 3 things, not 7 or 8.
Yeah. But it's working for you.
Yes, sir.
It's working for you. And you've got a great number 2 with you right now, and I know you're looking for another person.
Yes, sir.
Long range. Where are you going?
Sky's the limit, Steve.
I hear you.
I don't know where this ship's headed, but it's headed in a good direction. And as long as Ahrens Ranch and Wildlife is successful, we're going to keep giving back to Gold Star kids and H4H.
And we greatly appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Because all the kids that have gone out with you, they come back with smiles on their face, and that just warms your heart. You just feel so good, not just because they were able to harvest an animal, but it's about what they learned. Their experience.
Right.
And I think we all have different experiences that we can share with people. When the kids are around me, they get a totally different experience than when they're around you. Right. And it's great for their character to be able to see different personalities, right, different ways of communicating. Everybody is different, and a lot of these kids, there's a danger, much like our veterans, that just get so closed in. A lot of these kids sometimes don't know they don't really know what's going on. They don't understand the void. Why. And what we see when we pull the Gold Star families together is these families bond just like our veterans do. Our dog tags on our logo say "Soldiers Helping Soldiers." Well, it's no different in the Gold Star community. The families help the families, and so these kids, when they're around other kids that have gotten the label of Gold Star, losing their parent, they automatically bond because they know that person's experienced it. And when they get around people like yourself and our organization, we don't treat them any different than our own kids.
Absolutely.
And they fall in and feel so comfortable. And it's incredible just to see how these kids just change over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And you've seen the kids from event to event, and you watch them how they grow up. And they remember you, and they come up and they talk to you.
90% of them are taller than me now.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that. But, it is so cool when they come up and they remember you. And and we got Aiden is graduating this year.
Is he really?
Yeah. And that would have been awesome. He's graduating. He's been a great kid.
Yeah.
We got two kids graduating this year. So, it's unfortunate we have to let them go.
Yeah.
But there's only so much room.
Right.
And it is, I hope and pray that we run out of them. If we run out of them, that means we're not losing our service people anymore.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, with the political element that we have, just the way the world is, I fear we're gonna need more. Because we're gonna see more families suffering. But man, I can't thank you enough for what you do for Headwaters for Heroes. You're always there. It's not just the hunts. It's not just the auction. I can call you and ask your opinion.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And you always give me your honest opinion. And there's been a couple times you've said, Steve, I don't think I'd do it that way, and I might have gotten my feelings hurt a little bit, but I always know where your heart is.
I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear.
And that's what's making you successful as well, I'm sure. You're going to be honest about it, and you have been. And that's one of the things with the kids. You do the exact same thing with the kids, not in a bad way.
No.
You always tell them what is right. And those kids, they need this. They need that guidance.
Right.
And believe it or not, for these kids to have that guidance, it helps fill that void.
Yeah, absolutely. Any young individual growing up, needs to have that mentorship, not just in a father figure, but just in any mentorship. That a lot of my success coming up as a young man was having different mentors and having different people show me different ways. And so Gold Star kids are no different. They've got to have those different mentorships. They've got to have the Steve Sweeneys, the Calen Ahrenses, Joe Doe down the road. Somebody gives them different mentorships, gives them different angles and different views, because the world's not just one-sided.
Right. It's not. It is not. And these kids are really learning from a lot of different people. And that's what's cool about, we don't just pair up one pro staff every child that follows that child around.
Right.
Every hunt they go to, they're meeting a different pro staff.
Mm-hmm.
They're learning a different person. They're getting a whole different experience. So it is really, really cool what we do. But once again, I want to thank you for coming in, spending some time with us. You've got a great thing going. I'm thoroughly impressed. I've gotten to know you over the years. I consider you a good friend.
Absolutely.
A good advisor. And you're quite a bit younger than me, and I do take your advice. So and that's the thing that these kids see too when they're out. Yeah, I'm the president of the organization, but I really try to listen to those around me.
Yes,
to do the right things. Don't always make the right decisions, but
that's life in general.
That is life in general. But we're teaching these kids, instead of them being just sitting in their room, not knowing really what's happened to their life. Their mothers are doing a great job of getting them hooked up with us.
Yes.
And so that's also the good thing about it is we require the mother or the guardian to come along, and that creates a bonding for them as well as
Absolutely.
a family.
Yeah.
And so it's been great. I'm going to have to cut it off here, Calen. I want to thank you again for coming in, and that's Ahrens Ranch and Wildlife. What's the phone number to reach you?
432-386-7477.
And what's your website?
www.ahrensranchandwildlife.com.
Thank you, sir. Come back and see us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll be back with another one. Thank you.